KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
10 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, July 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coffee provided by Cato's Coffee, the energy that Bill and I have to battle out all the issues that we talk about on this show is fueled by Cato's Coffee. You've got to catoscoffee.com, KATOSKOFFEE.com. Great roast options there, a cowboy blend, a breakfast blend, lots of them. Mexican, Peruvian.
I find myself finishing my cup a little bit earlier to go, I'm going to go back and get more, which I don't do with some of the other coffees that we have here at the station, but it's like, ooh. And I do find myself wanting to think that when I know that we brewed Cato's Coffee, because we're going back and forth between some blends here, and then we've got some other blends that are for the rest of the office. Because the Cato's Coffee is for the Jeff and Bill Show. That when we're switching it over, I'm like, I got to go finish up that pot. Got to make sure I get the last of the Cato's Coffee before we switch over, because it's that good. Yeah, you will not be disappointed.
Visit KATOSKOFFEE.com. When you purchase, money goes to positive change for pets and the environment. It's founded in honor of his dog, Cato. And when you use the code JeffandBill10, JeffandBill10 at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount on your order. JeffandBill10. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Scott Bottom's going to join us. He's a pastor. He's a state representative. He's now seeking to become the governor of the state of Colorado, facing a primary battle that includes Greg Lopez as well as Mark Baisley, who we've had on the program earlier this week. But can Scott do it? Can he win in this state? And I'm fascinated by what's happened to Colorado in the last 30 years. At one point in the 90s, we were literally the center of the universe when it comes to the evangelical church, with all the mega ministries in Colorado Springs. And now, I think it's the one faith you can be that will not get you elected statewide. I think you could be a gay priestess in the Church of Marijuana, Bill, and get elected in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
But if you're a Bible-believing evangelical, absolutely not.
Especially if you lead with it. I think you got something there. I didn't think, until you mentioned it, I didn't think about it that way, but you may have a point.
Well, and you may not even have to lead with it, because Kyle Clark will. And everybody else will.
Nice job.
As an effort to try to sabotage your race. So what has happened to Colorado? We're the most intolerant, religious belief that they just won't have anything to do with voters statewide is an evangelical Christian, where you could pretty much be part of any other faith, the Church of Marijuana, for instance, which is actually harming people, and get elected. So I find it wild, and the result of a big change and shift that's happened in this state. But now it's time for news and comment with Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, good morning. 68, beautiful outside. Got some clouds here and there. It's going to be a great day. In Denver, expecting a high of 90 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, 2 injured in a shooting early this morning in downtown on 17th and Pearl. Investigation continues, so expect some challenges getting around there this morning. Both have survived the shooting last reported. Coloradans could vote in November on whether to redirect certain state sales taxes to road and bridge improvements, please. Dustin Zavanik with the lobbying group called 76 Group that's backing new legislation says money spent on roads should go back toward fixing roads.
What these measures would do is ensure that going forward, that all of this revenue that the state is already collecting, this isn't new money. This is money already being collected. It's already being collected. It's just ensuring that it's going to be allocated to improving the condition of our roads.
The proposed ballot measures would shift taxes already collected on vehicles, ride shares, deliveries, and auto parts toward transportation projects. Supporters say it's needed after more than $100 million was cut from road funding last year. CDOT warns the change could strip $82 million from clean transportation initiatives and reduce funding for schools and healthcare. Healthcare, of course. Healthcare. The measures are currently under review for inclusion on the fall ballot. Obamagate continues. Jonathan Turley says that it looks like one or two of these corrupt liars, cheats, and communists may go down. Time to go hunting.
And it does appear that a couple of these figures may have committed perjury. I think the most vulnerable may be Brennan, who's like a 30-point buck now out in the open. I mean, this stuff goes directly to information that he gave to Congress. It seems to be in contradiction. And so there are real questions here. I mean, people talk about, well, you can't charge Obama. That's very likely the case. He's probably protected. But these individuals, whether it's Comey or Brennan, are not protected from perjury charges if the statute of limitations has not run. They are more likely to be called again to repeat prior testimony.
The DOJ will continue interviews with Epstein's partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he'll meet with Maxwell again today, following a first round of questioning in Tallahassee. Minutes ago, here's DJT outside.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can get Blake back. In the meantime, if you're looking for a great place for lunch, dinner this weekend, the Black Eyed Pea of Colorado. I absolutely love this restaurant. It's Maha. It's Make America Healthy Again. It's locally sourced. It is quality food, owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. Love it. 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Home-style cooking at its best. Bottom line, you want to take the family out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. They've got some great deals going on this summer, including some barbecue. You ready for this? It's Colorado cookout and barbecue time at the Black Eyed Pea. Their July menu is featuring backyard combos, the St. Louis rib combo, the barbecue 2-meat combo. They have barbecue pulled pork, barbecue chicken breast, and barbecue smoked sausage. So good. Maybe you're hankering for a sandwich. They have grilled barbecue Polish sausage topped with grilled onions, or you can do the tender, slow-cooked barbecue pulled pork sandwich topped with coleslaw and served on a toasted brioche bun. They do catering as well. Dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event. Make it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering, and no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great for your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents. They have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will too. Support local. Make it Maha. Keep it in Colorado. I go for lunch. I can get an entire lunch, chicken wrap sandwich, $17. Iced tea, all that. That's basically what you pay for fast food. And this is home-cooked, quality ingredients you're going to feel better about. So visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. Absolutely love them. So let's go to weather and traffic, Bill.
Another day of monsoonal moisture for Colorado in the Front Range. Temperatures will be cooler with showers and thunderstorms likely today, some producing heavy rainfall. Highs will be 80s, lows tonight near 60. Upper 80s Friday, partly cloudy, widely scattered late-day thunderstorms. Only isolated thunderstorms warmer, 90s for the weekend. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, the race is heating up for governor in the state of Colorado. It's not this November. It's going to be next November, but the primary is rich with some great Republicans battling for that spot. We had Greg Lopez on earlier this week. Same with Mark Baisley. Honored to have joining us now Scott Bottoms. Scott Bottoms, a lawmaker down from the Colorado Springs area, pastor, and running for governor. He's got one of the strongest records out there fighting for liberty and freedom. Scott, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Great to be with you guys.
Scott, I want to ask you, because you're a man that leads with his faith. I'm a man that leads with my faith. It is the most important thing to me. It is the core identity for who I am. And I have, as somebody who's born and raised in Colorado, a native, have watched Colorado change over the years. At one point, we were the center of the evangelical universe. Colorado Springs, the great mega ministries, the influence and the power it had on this state, on the nation, on the globe. And I find myself 30 years removed from the 90s when we were kind of at the peak of that. And I oftentimes feel like the one thing you can't be to get elected in Colorado is an evangelical Christian or maybe a Bible-believing conservative Catholic. That the state has changed so much and become so hostile to Christians that it's difficult to win statewide. What has happened to Colorado? Why the hostility towards Christianity that's taken place in this state? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think there's a few layers with that. One, I would say that the church hasn't done a great job of being the church sometimes, and that makes it easy to be picked on. I also think that when the church is doing what it's supposed to be doing, what the Bible says, that can be a kind of a confrontation on a spiritual, emotional, mental level to people's lives, and it reveals that, hey, there is more out there, and that you need more. That there is a transcendence, there is an eternalness to our existence, and that we're created by God in God's image, all those things. That kind of pushes against some people's sensibilities. We're seeing a lot more people in the state of Colorado that they're just kind of an agnostic mentality. God may be there, he may not, and that kind of pushes against that sensibility. And so, yeah, I think it's discouraging, but here's one of the things that I ask people is, do you really want an honest person, a person of integrity and character, person that doesn't lie, doesn't cheat on his wife? Do you want that person in a position of leadership, or would you rather have the opposite of that?
And I think, too, Scott Bottoms running for governor, you can learn more about him at scottbottoms.com. They bought into a very deceptive lie, is that progressives are somehow tolerant people. They're not tolerant at all. They would drive around with their little bumper stickers that said coexist. And when progressives got total control of the state, which they have right now, House, Senate, every statewide elected office, they're radically intolerant to the point of we are now on our third, count it, 3 U.S. Supreme Court cases just on Christians being able to practice their faith. You had Jack Phillips, you had Lori Smith with 303 Creative, and now you have a counseling case coming out of Colorado Springs. And that doesn't include all the other lawsuits. Idra Haji, the Christian camp, had to sue. You have a Christian bookstore in Colorado Springs that's suing over House Bill 1312. You've had Christian and Roman Catholic preschools, Protestant Roman Catholic preschools suing just to be able to participate in the state all-day kindergarten program. all of that, I mean, it's just a constant litigation against people that are not tolerant. You've been down at the state capitol. You've watched these lawmakers jam these laws through. The last thing I would describe a Colorado Democrat as is somebody that's tolerant. Your thoughts?
Well, I do think there is a difference between the average Democrat out there and the Democrat leadership. The House, the Senate, the governor's office, those are very, very intolerant places. Those are very leftist. You will go by our ideology. It's a Marxist concept. You will say what we want. You will do what we want. You will adhere to everything and also buy in, at least verbally, buy into everything that we're saying. That's not freedom. That's not even politics. That's just a straight Marxist approach to life. I don't think the average Democrat out there in the state of Colorado thinks that way. I do think that they are a little more tolerant. You just have this small group of this leftist mentality that says it's our way or we will literally put you in jail. You will do what we say and how we say. Guys, that is not what America is built on. That's not First Amendment rights. That's not freedom and trying to get along with each other. And that is part of what I fight. Every time I go into the House, every time I go under the Golden Dome, we're fighting whether people have the right to live their own lives according to their own ways. If somebody says, I don't believe in God, that's their deal. I can't fight that. I can't convince them. According to the way I believe, only the Holy Spirit can convince them that God is real. But I don't go after them. I don't attack them. I don't call them names. I don't put bumper stickers on my car that says that they're bad people and all this other stuff. We live our lives, but that's not allowed right now in the state of Colorado. And I'm saying this, and this is part of my governor run. I'm saying that Democrats better wake up to this because their party's been taken from them. I'm gonna reclaim Colorado along with our team and along with all the other Coloradans. But Democrats need to get on board with this. You're losing your state to a bunch of people that are extremely not tolerant of everything.
That's Scott Bottoms. He's running for governor. You can learn more about him at scottbottoms.com. Scottbottoms.com currently serves as a state lawmaker, also a pastor. Scott, let's talk last cycle. Heidi Ganahl, in my mind, a great candidate, successful career woman, conservative, faces Jared Polis and electorate, and it just doesn't go well. I mean, nearly a 20-point loss. How do Republicans win? I mean, what's the different strategy this cycle in order to win against the progressive machine?
I think there's a bunch of things strategy-wise, and some of those, we're working hard at all this kind of stuff. Our team is an amazing team, and we've been working on this since last December, really putting this stuff together. But here is part of the deal with the last election. One is, do we really even trust the election? You have to always include that in the conversation. Do you trust the safety and security of our Secretary of State, who's now being investigated for the 2020 election, 2024 election, the BIOS passwords, Arapahoe County anomalies? I mean, this lady is probably going to be indicted before the next election. So that's part of the conversation. Also, I think Heidi could have her team, not Heidi. Heidi does a fine job. But her team could have had a little bit more developed strategy. I was just watching this from a distance going, hey, they could have done this, they could have done that. And so we think we're going to shore up some things there, and that'll get us ahead. But here's the biggest thing that's happening all over the state. We're hearing this from Democrat leaders all over the state, and I'm hearing it personally. Democrats are coming to me constantly saying, how can we make you governor? We have Democrat fund donors that are coming to me saying, hey, can I donate to your campaign? How can we make you governor? The average Democrat out there is sick and tired, just like the Republicans, just like the Libertarians, just like the independents and unaffiliated. They are sick and tired of what we are seeing coming out of that Capitol. What we are seeing coming out of there is straight evil leftist mentality that is trying to destroy businesses, families, children in the state of Colorado. They are going after them, and you can see this by just looking at their laws. And I've got a bunch of videos on my website where I'm arguing this stuff, that you can just see it. And so that's part of what's going to put us ahead also. We know that there's some different demographics that are starting to shift toward conservative. The Hispanic community, where I'm very strong in the Hispanic community, that is also shifting and becoming more conservative. So to say this, my team is doing an amazing job, but I'm going to be the next governor of Colorado.
That's Scott Bottoms. You can learn more about him at scottbottoms.com, scottbottoms.com. Scott, saw you yesterday. Was it yet? Goodness. Yesterday, day before, at a press conference, and you were calling out a bill that had been passed in a bipartisan way, but you were one of the few that spoke out against it. And Bill and I have covered this bill extensively, along with Channel 7, even going back prior to this latest case of this guy that tried to kidnap a kid and run off with him here in the Cherry Creek School District, and then was released because he was found to be mentally incompetent. There's another case that had happened back in April where the guy crashes in. He's driving under the influence, crashes into somebody, kills one of his passengers, and because of the head injury he received, is deemed incompetent and then just released. And Scott, I had texted Republican leadership going, guys, we've got a real serious issue with this loophole that says if a court finds you to be mentally incompetent, they just let you go. Talk to us about how this can be addressed, this problem. You showed up at the press conference. It's obviously an issue you want to take on, and it's an issue that you anticipated was coming. Talk to us more about that, Scott Bottoms.
Yeah, thank you for that. This is something that I directly debated on the floor and also in some different smaller settings like committees and things like this. We really are having a major problem here in the state of Colorado when it comes to laws, when it comes to being able to actually put people in jail, keep them in jail. I don't know why that people keep voting to let people out of jail so much easier. And this is even some in my own party. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but I've gone and asked them, why? Why did you vote this way? You are going to harm people. I used this exact scenario that we were at the press conference with, this guy that got Leslie Galligan, that he should be in jail or he should be in a mental health facility. But here's part of the problem is they're taking money. The legislators in the House, I fight against it. I'm one of very few voices that actually fight against this. They take money away from mental health. We've done that the last 3 years over and over, and they put it into, and I'm not exaggerating this, they put it into illegal immigrant transgender surgeries. Look it up. It's Bill 1309, $500 million. Well, we used to realize that things like cutting was a mental illness. I've been a pastor for 35 years. I've counseled people that cut. Well, now, as long as you're cutting your genitals, that's actually paid for by the state. It's encouraged by the state. It is illegal for counselors to say this is a bad idea. It is illegal for psychologists and psychiatrists to say this is a bad idea. And so when I say something like this guy should be in a mental health facility, first they're shutting down those opportunities, taking away the funding, but we're not allowed to say that because the transgender ideology, it's been enabled, and now it's a healthy thing. And this is a very dangerous thing for our communities. It's putting people at risk. This Galligan guy was transgender that says he's a woman, and he's kidnapping kids. But because he says he's a woman, we cannot go after him, and we have to let him go. This is dangerous for Colorado. I've been saying this for a long time, and I can't get people in the House to vote differently. They just keep saying, yeah, let's let people go free.
What?
Let's not put them in jail.
I mean, the history of this was that, yeah, it was passed in a bipartisan way, and I can understand that maybe, at least I can understand. You were exactly right in voting against it, but I could see someone going, well, we don't want to necessarily put them in a jail if they have mental health problems without services. That seems like it's not fair to them. But this law has had bad consequences, all right? So it got passed, and now you have a series of people, including going back to April, and Natalie Chuck at Channel 7 picked up on this. You have a dude that literally injures himself in a DUI that results in the death of somebody in his car and then gets let out because of the injury he sustained during the crime. And, Scott, I messaged Republican leadership on this. This is something they could have led on this last legislative agenda. I pointed it out to them. I said, guys, this is a big problem. We got to address it. And now it's getting bigger and bigger. And now you have this other guy trying to kidnap somebody on a playground. Same issue, let out because of a declared to be mentally incompetent to stand trial. Why isn't Republican leadership in the State House and State Senate leading on this, calling for the special session to address this, and fixing this problem?
This is to me, this is a no-brainer. We are putting people at risk. We are putting criminals out on the streets. This one guy that was let go that we had the press conference for, he has done this 4 different times. He's assaulted people, all kinds of things. And every time they arrest him, they say, well, he's not competent to serve trial. We have this mindset right now in the political arena that if you do anything to criminals, you're somehow cold-hearted, you're a mean person. Well, these criminals are doing things to people that is horrendous, they're evil, there's bad things going on, but we won't address it. It makes you feel good when you say, well, we're letting these people out because we're thinking about who they are, but we're not thinking about the victims. These people are being victimized all over our state, and we're making it easier and easier. But I'll give you one of the arguing points. We have many times heard Democrats get up and say, and this is on video, but they say nobody should be in jail. Nobody. That makes no sense in a society. We have to have laws. We have to make people adhere to these laws, and there has to be punishment for going against these laws because you're attacking and affecting every single person in the state. But when you've got an entire group of people that say we will not put people in jail, that people don't belong in cages, that's another thing I've heard people say. It's crazy.
Well, and it tracks exactly with the same people that go, no borders, no person's illegal, all that stuff. And I often ask them, do they have locks on their doors? And they live that life, right, protecting the ones they love from someone that could cause them harm. They just apparently believe no one else should. Scott Bottoms, he's running for governor. Website, scottbottoms.com, scottbottoms.com. Scott, I went to the Bernie Sanders rally. AOC, Bernie Sanders, 30,000 people. And to give you some context on this, okay, I've gone to tons of different rallies. Red Rocks, which was a high water point for the Romney operation in 2012, was 10,000 people. Barack Obama fills Mile High Stadium. That's 75,000 people. This is 30. This is literally the biggest thing political-wise, rally-wise in Colorado since Barack Obama, Mile High Stadium, Greek columns, was Bernie AOC. The sense I get, and I've had guests on this show, is that Democrat voters want to get more socialist. You see it with Mondami, this guy out of New York, where the old days of the JFK Democrats, those are long gone, man. Those have all become Republicans at this point. We are now pro-socialist, pro-Marxist. They show up 30,000 people to see Bernie Sanders and AOC, biggest rally since Barack Obama was here in 2008. So, is the electorate just getting more progressive in your mind?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think I'm being naive here. The whole Bernie Sanders AOC, there are people all over the country that came in for that rally to make it look like it was bigger than it was. But there are some other things that you cited that are legitimate things. Here is the reality. I think the Democrats, well, I know because I get this all the time. Democrats across the state are actually saying, no, we need to pull back a little bit. New York is going to be a perfect example of this, that if you're going to get what you voted for. And this guy is off his rocker up there in New York, but you're going to get what you voted for. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. We've been voting for a long time in Colorado, and we're getting what we voted for. People are attacking our children. You can take kids away now just because parents don't adhere to a transgender ideology. You can't have any kind of business. We're the sixth most regulated state in the United States. We are now second in crime across the entire United States. You're getting what you voted for. If you want to keep going down this road, it's going to get worse and worse, which it almost can't get worse unless we turn into just completely wide open Venezuela. If we want the Venezuelan cartel to take over the entire state instead of just Aurora, well, keep voting for what you want. But I don't think that's what's happening. I'm getting this in our analytics all across the state. Democrats are saying we are tired of this. We've gone too far. They recognize they've gone too far. They recognize that the people in the House and the Senate do not represent them. And so I don't think I'm being overly naive. I think that they're going to vote in huge numbers to say we've got to at least change this we've got to give us one voting cycle and we can change some of this back. I'm going to not only help Coloradans reclaim Colorado, I'm going to help Democrats reclaim a sensible Democrat Party that is not this leftist mentality. And so I actually have hope for November of 26. I have very strong hope for our state.
That's Scott Bottoms, candidate for Colorado's governor, joining Jeff and Bill live. I'm not sure I agree with the assertion you made about those being mostly out-of-state people coming in for the rally, because they were going all over the country. It wasn't a one time, but I don't see proof of it. But that's not for today. We can have a disagreement on that. Just like Jeff was talking about the idea, and you guys were talking about the Democrats going too far to the left, is there a critique that the Republicans may have gone too far to the right? And what I mean by this is the last time that the Republicans were really strong inside of the state is coming out of the era of the Reagan Republicans. Yet that era has been repudiated, not only in our state, but also to an extent nationally. The Republican Party evolved and changed. Jeff talked about the idea of getting rid of the country club Republicans and going to the grassroots. And that seems to have also opened up the door for loss after loss after loss on a large-scale basis for Republicans in Colorado. While you say the Democrats have lost their way in the wilderness, have the Republicans as well?
Well, I think it would be very hard for us to argue that Republicans have become more conservative in Colorado. We've gotten more and more liberal every single year, and every year we've done that, we've lost seats in the House, we've lost seats in the Senate, and the argument keeps saying, well, let's keep going to the middle. Well, we've been doing that for 20 years, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. This last election cycle, Trump said, no, let's change the narrative all over the United States, and let's move more to the right, and man, that was overwhelmingly accepted across the United States. You can have a Biden, you can have a Bernie. The electorate rejected that and said, no, we want to move more to the right, and we're seeing this all across the United States with congressmen and senators at the federal level. We want to move more to the right. The state of Colorado has moved to the left by Democrats and Republicans. I am going to be the guy that's going to pull us back to the right. I'm going to show Colorado that good common sense leadership, good conservative leadership, we're not attacking anybody, we're not going after anybody, but we're trying to put businesses back where they need to be at the top. We need to cut taxes, all the normal things that we do not do well as Republicans in the state of Colorado. So the argument that somehow the moving right doesn't work, that's not what the rest of the country is saying. That's not what every poll, every statistical analysis of the country is saying. And that's definitely not what all of our analysts in Colorado are saying. They're saying we've got to move more to the right, and we're going to do that.
Now, I understand the idea of looking at the electorate as far as national, but is that watering it down? Because we talk about here on the Jeff and Bill show that Colorado has positioned itself as one of the more liberal states inside of the union. Is looking around as far as a national trend and seeing a trend in somewhere like a Virginia, an Arkansas, a Florida necessarily applicable to a state that has the politics right now in Colorado? We have one of the most liberal abortion laws in the entire nation, and many of those Democrats were returned to office. Can you assume that this push or this trend elsewhere nationally is pushing Colorado conservative, or is it just wishful thinking?
No, I don't necessarily think the national trend is pushing Colorado. I think there is some evidence that it is and could be, but that's not actually my argument. My argument is 77% of all Coloradoans do not want boys and girls sports. 72% of all Coloradoans do not want boys and girls bathrooms. 40% of the people that voted Amendment 79, which constitutionalized abortion they said they would not have voted for it. These are the people that voted for it, not just the whole group. 40% of the people that voted for it said they would not have voted for it if they knew that it was going to be funded by the state. We told everybody that was happening at the time, but people don't pay attention. They don't actually listen. They listen to some talking points on the left, and they say, oh, it's all going to work out. We immediately went into session and voted that it would be paid for completely by the state, not just for abortions in the state, but for abortions from anybody coming from any other state. Nobody believed that was going to happen when they voted it in. And so the Democrats keep doing this stuff, and I'm not just saying Democrats, I'm saying these hardcore leftists in the House. They also lost 3 seats last session. They're going to lose in 26. We're looking at my team is looking about 12 to 14 seats they're going to lose. Why? Because they've gone too far. And most of the Democrats, every statistical thing you look at, don't take the federal out of it, take the national out of it. The statistics we're seeing across the state and all of the conversations I'm having, Democrats are tired of this. You can't keep lying to them. You can't keep trying to give all of their state money and their benefits to illegal immigrants. You can't keep propping up crime. You can't keep closing businesses till somebody on the Democrat side also says this is too far. And I think we're going to prove that in November of 26.
I see the point. Scott Bottoms, candidate for Colorado governor. The question I've got looking at that is when you talk about the abortion issue, it's something that Jeff and I both were saying that, yes, this will lead to taxpayer-funded abortions. That was the purpose, in my mind, just personally. I feel that was the purpose of that constitutional amendment, is in order to break the seal on not being able to have state funds for abortion that they would provide. Yeah, and you're right that our show and a bunch of Republicans were out there saying it, but you accurately said that message didn't percolate and didn't break through. Now, are you making an assumption that the messaging from the GOP will somehow break through this time? The example you just gave, the GOP messaging was accurate, the GOP messaging was truthful, and yet it didn't break through. Why is this election cycle going to be different?
Well, there's a few things. One is we still know that Amendment 79 got voted in, right? That was by the people of Colorado. It was very disappointing to me, but it still became constitutional. The messaging that didn't get through was that it was going to be funded, and also, by the way, that we are having an extremely increasing amount of second and third trimester abortions. I just had a conversation with somebody recently that witnessed an abortion in the last week of a lady's pregnancy. She still has to give birth at that point. She could have just waited and let that baby be adopted. But this is where we've come to in Colorado. The message getting out, it is starting to get out stronger. But here is one of the things that's going to happen. My team is all over the state. We're going to be part of the messaging. There are other people running for governor. They're going to try to get this message out there. This message is going to hit very strong by the time 26 rolls around. But it's not just that. It's the reality that when you've gone too far, that message gets out way faster than when you're just in the normal, everyday kind of thought process of Democrats and Republicans. We have broken our state. We're not one of the most liberal. According to our laws, we are the most liberal. We're the most pedophile-friendly state in the United States, according to our laws. We're the most human trafficking-friendly state in the United States, according to our laws. So this message is going to be getting out there just because we've gone so far. And I have to throw this out here, too. As a pastor, I do believe in God. I do believe in the Word of God. I do believe in the presence of God. And I believe God is going to help us get this message out there. People in Colorado need to wake up. and realize their state has been stolen from them from a handful of crazy, out there leftist Marxists.
From your lips to God's ears, that's Scott Bottoms. He's a pastor. He's a lawmaker. He's running for governor. Go to scottbottoms.com, scottbottoms.com to learn more about him. Representative, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
All right, we'll continue. Let's talk first, though, Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's the real deal, very accessible, works hard, gets justice for people. He's right there with us on the values, pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. Dan Caplis has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Listen to this. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious injury cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S, law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
to the Jeff and Bill Show. Scott Bottom's joining us. A man that's open about his faith. Pastor, lawmaker, wears it on his sleeve. I'm not sure you can get elected in Colorado as a Bible-believing Christian statewide. I think you can state house, state senate, and little groups like that. But I think it's the one faith, whether you're a committed Protestant or Roman Catholic, but a Bible-believing, church-attending Christian is the one faith that can't get elected. I think you could be the gay priestess from the Church of Marijuana and get elected statewide over a Bible-believing Christian in the state.
Yeah.
Which I just find fascinating because it's such a shift. And then you would think after maybe the first Supreme Court case with Jack Phillips in the state of Colorado that was so openly hostile to him, we would have learned our lesson. Nope. Jack drug through 10 years of this litigation. And then you have 303 Creative, and Lori Smith goes all the way to the Supreme Court, wins. We now have our third U.S. Supreme Court case, all on the same issue. Can Christians openly practice their faith in the public square with the set of LGBTQ laws that have been set up in the state? It's the same issue. It's different aspects of the law, but it's the same issue. And it's now before the U.S. Supreme Court for the third time. And it's not like the voters of Colorado are like, maybe we should change things.
Yeah, and that is part of what I think is going to be the headwinds that a candidate like Scott Bottoms faces. That those are absolute headwinds that you've accurately described here in Colorado. And I think that maybe him thinking, well, the Democrat voters are tired of, but can your sales pitch then work? Are they going to be open to it? And this may not be fair. I think you are 110% accurate that it might be the most difficult thing to do inside of Colorado is to get elected as an evangelical Christian outside of coming out and saying that you're a communist or coming out and saying you're a fascist. And the reason why is because of like Epson hit Timmy Hernandez.
Yeah, right. That's a good point.
I think that's it. And I think that, and the other part is I think the branding of socialist or communist hurts. And we saw that with the Aurora City Council members, that they came out and they didn't say, hey, we're socialists, guys. Hey, we're socialists. And then they came in and they had the pins and everything else. Go, wait, are you guys socialists? And they go, yes, we are. And that lasted one term. So so I do think that's it. But I think the problem, and this is very difficult given our shared faith, I think one of the problems that evangelicals have getting elected just in Colorado at this point is the perception that evangelicals will govern with an attitude of, you need to do it because my religion says so. And I'm not saying it's a fair critique, but I'm saying that's the perception. And part of that was reinforced during the Jeff Crank, when he was running for he was running for a House, and when national, he's going there. And the idea that it was this talk about which candidate in that race was going to be more pure on the pro-life issue. You had one candidate, again, that lost that said, hey, I'm pro-life, but you can make your own choice. But the Republican Party pushed back and said, no. It should have been, I'm pro-life, so you have to be too. That's where they wanted the messaging. I'm not certain that's a message that will win. And that's why I think your argument of being the gay priestess that is part of the marijuana church could get elected, because the marijuana church probably is going to go, oh, yeah, dude, just do whatever you want. Oh, that was good.
That's what they may say.
Yeah.
But what I have pointed out, what I feel like I keep trying to point out, is they're actually the least tolerant people, especially as it relates to Christians, because we're now on our third U.S. Supreme Court case just around the idea that a little baker or a counselor or a website designer, not trying to force it upon anybody else, could just practice their own faith quietly.
Oh, yeah. So, you're exactly. And the thing is, that is 110% right and fair. I'm not saying this is, correct or just. I'm just saying it's a perception. And that's why it's so hard. That you're right. You're right about this, my friend. You're right.
And there was only one case that I know of, and I could be wrong about this, but there was only one case that made it to the U.S. Supreme Court with regards to gay marriage when evangelicals were in charge of the state. And that was the Romer case.
That's right.
So you had one case. We're now three into the LGBTQ-dominated leadership of the state. And I just raised the question, which one's more tolerant?
Yeah. Good question.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Can a Bible-believing Christian win statewide in the state of Colorado? I think it's the one faith that keeps you from getting elected. You could be the gay priestess of the Church of Marijuana and win over a Bible-believing Christian. Why is that the case? Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
That's the question. This is Denver's talk leader. Why? 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We are discussing Scott Bottoms. He joined the program. My question, why is it that the one thing you can't be is a Bible-believing Christian if you want to get elected statewide in Colorado? And why is that the case? Why would they elect anybody else, any other faith? And I'm not denigrating any other faith. I'm just wondering why the electorate's like anybody else but the Bible-believing Christian.
Yeah, why is it none of the above? Yeah.
Let's go to Julia in Wheat Ridge. Good morning, Julia. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning. Well, I just want to say that, Scott has a great record of defending the Constitution first in the Navy and in the State House.
How do you think that makes him as applicable as far as the governorship? How does that apply? Where are we going
Jared
with
Polis didn't have any of that.
Well, Scott does.
Yeah.
He has an incredible record of defending the Constitution in the State House and in the Navy.
Do you think, and how do you use that as a sales pitch to the Colorado voter in your mind? I know we're running out of time, but just quickly, how would you pitch that?
Well, I think he might be lesser known, but I believe if people got to know him, they'd understand that everything he does, he measures very carefully against is it constitutional or not. And he has an incredible record.
He does, and I think he'd be great. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.